One of the most common questions I get is regarding gear setup, what parts I use in handguns, carbines, belt, holster, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to just run through my whole kind of loadout of all the stuff. I've got polymer frame PDP, steel frame PDP, magazines, a couple different carbine setups. We'll talk about optics for both platforms, a belt rig, and I think that's it. So I'm going to try to keep this somewhat brief and just kind of explain why the guns are set up the way they are, what parts are in them, and then if you have more questions, drop it below and I'll answer with a follow-up video if I need to. But this would just seem like an easy way just to kind of get everyone up to speed with all the parts I'm using. So I'll start with the polymer frame Walther PDPs. I've got a 4-inch gun also, but for teaching and stuff, I mainly just use the 5-inch gun. So just the service sized gun, I suppose. For triggers, I like the dynamic performance trigger better. The pull weight is not that much difference from what the standard factory, the wider shoe is. The difference really comes in the reach to the trigger. And this one, to get my finger on it, it's just a lot further back towards the frame. So I feel like it's easier to get my finger in front of the trigger and start to hit that tab to deactivate the safety. With the wider trigger, I start to press the trigger sometimes on the side before I get around and press the front to deactivate that little tab. So you can imagine if you start to press on the side of the trigger without hitting that little dingus to deactivate the safety, it doesn't work so well. So it was just the combination of the trigger being a little bit too wide and a little bit farther forward. So I can still shoot those guns fine, and I have some guns with that trigger. But if I have the option, I like the dynamic performance trigger just for the reach. Otherwise, the weight between that and the wider shoe, it's like I've got probably 3 or 4 different guns with this trigger in it, and it's probably give or take a quarter or maybe a half a pound. It's not a ton of difference. Instead, I think the reach to the trigger is the main difference because the trigger's set back. Other than that, the guns are basically stock. I think the guns are oversprung, so I use a 15-pound captive ZR Tactical guide rod. They make a bunch of different varieties. The V-Spec is fine also. I've used that, but in the non-comped guns, it's pretty similar. I couldn't tell a huge difference. So the main part is that just the standard length guide rod is what I like. So again, 15 pounds, which is good for... It doesn't make the gun snap so hard when you shoot. Otherwise, it felt like on my wrist, it was just more violent. It returned to 0 just fine. In shooting rapid fire pairs like the doubles drill, I still had the same result. This just doesn't feel like it has as much shock on my hands. So I like that. I changed out the recoil springs. Otherwise, the only other spring I change out on some of them is Springco makes a trigger return spring. See that guy there. And I'll be real, I don't know how much of a difference it makes. Maybe it's a quarter pound, but it's not a ton. So that's something, like if you want to mess around with it, you can. Otherwise, I don't think it's a make or break. Otherwise, out of the box, the trigger's up the way you want it, and then just change the recoil springs and the guns are good to go. For optics plates, the plates that come with the guns are good to go, honestly. I've got a bunch of the factory Walther plates and never had an issue with them coming loose, breaking, anything like that. So they are good to go. If you want something different, I do use the Arise manufacturing plates on my guns just because Jordan's a friend and the plates fit tight enough. Like, being real, you can put the plate on the gun, it kind of snaps in place, and the little bosses that stick up that the optic sits on are normally tight enough that you'll kind of end up like pushing down on the optic to get it all the way on the bosses. And the last one I mounted, just having the plate on the optic and the way the plate snaps into the gun with no screws in it at all, I could do one of these numbers and it didn't fall off. And I did one of Ben's Glocks. I was wiggling the thing like this, holding on to the optic, and the plate nor the plate and the optic did not separate, and the plate from the gun didn't separate. I did a video about Ben's 47 setting them up. So anyway, I like those optics plates a lot. For dots, I've got 2 I like. I don't know if I have a strong favorite. The Holosun 507 Comp or the Vortex Defender XL. If you're buying the Vortex, I like the 2 MOA, the new one, better. The 5s came out first. They work fine. That's actually what this one is a 5. Just looking at it and dry firing with it, like, man, the dot's kind of big. But when I'm actually on the range shooting it, it's totally fine. So if I have a preference, I prefer the smaller dot sizes, but whatever you have is fine, or if you have a preference. So again, for dots, Holosun 507 Comp or Vortex Defender XL in the 2 MOA. If I'm using the Holosun, I've got just the smallest dot available. None of the other nonsense. I wish that stuff wasn't even an option so I could accidentally select it. The only other change to the gun is it says silicone carbide directly added to the frame. So it's basically JB weld, then carbide added over the top of it. And so it's just like adding a Talon grip tape. It's basically permanent skateboard tape that's attached to the frame. Otherwise, this gun's pretty stock. People that shoot it, oh, this, not that like that's it, but they're expecting something magical and it's not. It's just a polymer frame duty style gun, but they shoot really well and they fit the hand well and they're reliable and all that junk. But anyway, nothing super crazy. For the Walther PDP steel frame, this is basically the same as the other gun. The same ZR Tactical 15-pound spring. Same deal with the plates. The factory plate's fine. This is an Arise plate also. Again, Holosun 507 dot or the Defender XL. I don't care. Probably depends on which footprint you have. If you're an existing RMR or SRO user and need a different dot, or that's what plate you have, that makes the most sense. If you have I think some of the SIGs especially are ready for the Delta Point Pro. That's the plate or the footprint, the way the slide's cut, then put that on it. But I think you'll be happy with either one. For the grips in this gun are removable, and they have silicone carbide on them as well. Maybe the other thing I should have talked about was I don't like grip texture on the upper part of the back strap here, just because when I'm gripping the gun, I feel like that part's going to get sensitive. So I don't want to like have discomfort from it chewing up my hands. And if I grip the gun a little bit low or it's off a little bit, I'm still able to move the gun a little bit in my hand if I need to reposition the gun just on the draw. I take the magazine well off these just because for USPSA carry optics it's not allowed. And I don't know, these guns are pretty easy to reload, so I don't think you need a magazine well. Other than that, same spring, more or less the same gun between the two. Talking about magazines for them, I just use the factory tubes, of course. The factory followers are good to go. The blue ones, these lock the slide open. This is a Henning Group base pad. This one adds 4. So these will hold 22 plus 1. You can also get MBX, makes a kit that is 23 plus 1. But it's got like a thinner follower and it won't hold the slide open. So I've got a handful of those for USPSA for just the once in a while. Otherwise, for the bulk of my use, I prefer these. The other really smart part about Henning stuff is they've got a little tab in the front. So all you do is just push down this little tab. Hopefully I got that well. And then the whole magazine just slides right off. And then to put it back in place, all you do is just snap it together. Maybe we're focusing. Am I supposed to do this? Is that the magic part? Whatever. Anyway, this little tab's what holds it in place. You don't need a tool or anything. Just press down on it and the whole base pad slides off. So those Henning Group base pads are my go-to just because they are fantastic. For carbines. My very favorite carbine I own is this one. This is an ADM, so an American Defense. It's a Mod 2. It's a 14.5 pin and weld with a Surefire 3-prong on it. If you're going to shoot suppressed, my go-to is a Surefire RC3. With this can on this gun, this thing feels like a pellet gun. It's just a slow little push. It shoots really, really soft. For stocks, I like the Magpul CTR, but any of the Magpul stocks are fine. It's just preference. Whatever fits your face. Radiant Arms charging handles, what came on this rifle. That's what I use on most of my guns. Triggers, Geisley SSAE is my go-to if I have a choice, but any of the Geisley's 2-stages are fine. Geisley's like sister company, ALG Defense. Any of their triggers, the enhanced mil-spec or the, I think it's called ACT trigger. It's like maybe 70 or 80 bucks. But that's like an enhanced mil-spec trigger, and that trigger's great too. So whatever you like, but I really prefer the 2-stage. For people not familiar, what it means is when you're pressing the trigger, you've got this amount of take-up, or pre-travel, or however you want to say it. It gets to the wall, and then you press the trigger. I like that just because if you accidentally would press the trigger, you actually have a little bit of safety because you're adding weight to the way you're pressing the trigger. So I'm not going to get this right, but let's say this take-up is 3 pounds, and the last break, you have to add 2 more pounds to get this to break. So in total, I'd be pressing 5 pounds, but I'm pressing 3 pounds in the front to get to that wall and 2 pounds to break it. The breakdown's a little bit different, but that's like the gist of what's going on. For guts in the rifle, I don't use anything like special. I know guys like tuning guns. I just haven't got into it, honestly. So just H2 buffer and a regular carbine stock, regular whatever buffer spring comes in it. And then when it gets shot out, I just buy a new one from BCM or whoever and put it in. So regular buffer spring, just an H2 buffer. Let's see. For lights, because seeing is cool, my go-to is Surefire stuff. So this is a Surefire Turbo. The 2-cell one with the tail cap has a click, so a push button to turn it on in case like zombies or some kind of EMP eats through this the switch, the cable. But anyway, then I've got also a pressure pad. This is the SR07, I think. Basically, just a touchpad for momentary, or you can click the top button up here for constant on. The way I use it when I mount the rifle is I just rest my thumb on the back part of the switch, so you can't have a negligent discharge on the light. It just gives me a good reference point. Then when I want to fire, I could just move my thumb forward just a tick to hit it if I want momentary, because I don't do anything cool, but when I do actually use a light with a rifle, I don't want it clicked all the way on. So for the stuff, my limited experience, I just prefer to hold it down to have the momentary when I'm done, let go of it. As far as any of their light stuff, this is their Pro light, Surefire's Pro mount, which if you're going to get a light, I think this is the most boss setup there is. So these come with 2 different cleats. It comes with a M-lock and a Picatinny, and whichever cleat you use just attaches to the light here, to this one little screw. And so you just change it and then basically end up with a very compact package, or the light kind of, I don't know, melts into the rail, I suppose. You can see how compact it all is without the can. So anyway, I think this is quite cool. I really like the mounting system Surefire does on this. Let's see. And I think that's basically it for the rifles. Then for optics, I have a strong preference right now. I really like Holosun stuff. This is the AEMS, or AIMS, I guess is what it's called. This is the new Pro model, so I think they call it X2. For all my dots, I prefer just the color red. Some guys like green. Holosun's making a gold now also. I have one in my basement that's going to Benny Boy that he's going to try out, but for right now, I prefer the color just red for dots. But anyway, I really like this AIMS. It's on an American Defense mount. Otherwise, the mount that comes with the AIMS is fine. This mount, I like the lower third co-witness height. So I just feel like when I mount the rifle, I'm not like super smashing my head down, but I don't want one of the mounts where I'd be shooting and have my head so high that kind of my chin is just somewhat connected to the rifle. Instead, I just prefer to have that lower third height, just because it's keeping, I don't know, I feel like it's the Goldilocks space of having the optic close to your bore, but not so high that it's uncomfortable or tough to use. A bit about the AIMS. This one, there's got a couple of features I really, really like. One, they're a good price point, which is nice. 2, you can change the reticles on it. So you could do everything from a circle with a dot in the middle, kind of like with the EOTech style. You can do just a plain circle, which I don't know why anyone in the right mind would want, or you could use just a dot. So for 99% of my shooting, I like just the plain dot. And if I'm doing not CQB, but CQB distances, then I like turning on the ring, because you could use the bottom of the hash as a hold off, and that's where bullets will go at like 7 or 10 meters. So turning on the ring for close shooting is sometimes nice. Otherwise, especially for distance shooting, I like just having the plain dot. It's just less confusing, because I'm trying to stay target focused and react to the color of my sight. And if I have that ring around it, I don't want just the ring like to touch my eye line. Instead, I want to find the very middle. So that's the optic I like there. So this ADM rifle is, dude, it's fly. It's the nicest rifle I've ever owned, and they are not cheap. So if you're looking for a rifle setup, but something a bit less expensive, this is my go-to. This is the other rifle I shoot a ton. This is an Aero Precision lower receiver with a BCM upper. The upper on this one's a 14.5 with a pin and weld 3-prong also. I have a strong preference for that for a muzzle device. So briefly talking about the 3-prong, I feel like it mostly pushes straight back. I don't like the directional devices at all. So they make a 3-prong like this with ports on it called a war comp. Shooting that, it's got it's like a hybrid device where it's got ports from a comp, but it's not really compensated, and it's not setting up a bunch of flash for like light signature things if that was an issue. But I just don't like the way that it kind of pushes the muzzle downwards. The A2 flash hiders are awesome, but they do push the muzzle down just a little bit also. So anyway, I like that this feels just kind of neutral, and it feels like maybe it's a little more violent, but I feel like the gun pushes more straight back. So that's my go-to. As far as the upper, like I said, this is a BCM 14.5, just one of their M-locks. This one's, like BCM stuff, I think, is a bit more overgassed. So it'll function with steel case. I mean, any type of ammo you want to put in it. The problem is, especially with hot ammo, this gun does recoil more. It snaps harder. The ADM, without me doing any amount of tuning to it other than putting in an H2 buffer, it feels softer, and it does not recoil as hard as this gun does. If you're using apples to apples, same ammo on the same magazines, the ADM is definitely softer. But, I don't know, maybe twice the money compared to what this setup costs. So, if you have the means, it's a very choice, and I highly suggest it. But if not, this is, I think, one of the best go-tos for just getting someone up and running. So, the setups, it's the same trigger, the same Geisley 2-stage SSAE trigger, the same Radiant Arms Raptor charging handle, same American Defense mount, lower third height, Holosun aims, same Surefire light, same Pro mount, same SR07 switch. So otherwise, it's really very close. Like identically, they're, as far as accessories go, they're the exact same. This gun just recoils a little bit more, and the ADM just feels a little bit softer shooting, a little bit more tuned. So if I have the choice, the ADM is my favorite rifle. But, like I said, for half the money, this is a great rifle that, man, I've shot this gun a ton. No issues, no breakage. It's been a very nice rifle. So, anyway, those are my two go-tos. I don't think you can go wrong with it, either one. Lastly, I'll talk through belt rigs. I've got different rigs for the Polymer PDP and the steel frames. They don't take the same holsters, but the rigs are basically identical other than that. People should be familiar, but sorry for all the noise. I strongly prefer the inner and outer belt system, which is what most like competitive shooters use. So for this is the inner belt that you thread through your belt loops. This model specifically is from Double Alpha, and the difference is it's got a ratchet in the front of it, which is kind of cool. I'll elaborate more on that later. For that ratcheting part, when you put on your inner belt, you are suggested to put it on with this part in the front. Because when you ratchet it down, this part's actually made to flex. Just because it's tightening or whatever moving. Otherwise, you can still like tighten it down with the Velcro part in the front. It just works a lot better if you have that part that they have, oddly enough, designed to do that. As far as the belt itself, this is, I'm sure most people are familiar, it's Velcro. So the inner belt has Velcro, the outer belt has Velcro. You just set it over the top of each other. All the gizmos and doodads are all going to be in the exact same spot when I put this on, so I don't have to worry about reorientating or having something move or shift around, because it's permanently attached to the belt. Once I put it on, just, like I said, push this thing in with the ratchet. If you want to ratchet it, you can pull on this. It actually works as a ratcheting action. And to release it, if you lift up on this, it releases the ratchet. So I think it's a cool feature. Double Alpha makes these. This is my go-to belt by far. 4 holsters and hangers. The Henning T1000 is my go-to for hangers. This has just a gazillion different options. So you could adjust these screws up here, would adjust how far it cants, like forward and backwards. Then we've got, I mean, this is too many screws to keep track of. It's almost humorous, but they actually do all serve a purpose. So you've got screws here, up here, down here. And these are all going to adjust the different cants. So basically I can move the gun this way or that way, like which way I want it to tilt, inwards or outwards, like if I want the holster pointing farther away from my body. Like I said, all the different options. I can adjust how high it is on this ladder, so if I want it higher or closer, which for competitive shooting is quite important, depending on the division you're in. Well, I think anymore anything goes. It used to be important before they kind of, I don't know, took away all restriction and turned into a free-for-all. For magazine pouches, I've got two different styles I like. I really like the T-Rex Arms Mars magazine pouches for, like, call it war belts or duty style belts. I like those really well. For competitive shooting, the CR Speeds have been really good to me. I've used these for a long time. So this one has a magnet in the front. Basically, you can stow an extra magazine there, or if you have a stage in competitive shooting where it's your magazines are all on a table, you can just shove one there. Otherwise, these pouches are set up with a bunch of adjustability, so I can change the angle on them to make them more up and down or more, forward and backwards, whatever you like. And then for mag pouch, this one's S-Tac, just one of their Carbine mag pouches, which I normally have on a belt also. Lastly, the holster. This one's from GX Products. I like these a lot. Full disclosure, business is good for Leif. So there is a bit of a waiting list for these, and when you place the order, he's got like a disclosure on his website, or a disclaimer, and it takes a few months to get them. There's just no way around it, because he's a one-man operation. He makes them all by hand, and he is very autistic, and they are perfect before he leaves. Before they leave his shop, it's not like a mass-produced where it's close enough kind of thing. But that's good for the customer when you get one. The way this holster works. With the vise down, there's no retention on the gun. With the vise up, it just works as kind of a clamping force, and it just makes it where the gun stays put in the holster. So for practical shooting, having the lock engaged, the vise, you could run around, RO, patch the targets, do whatever, not really have a care in the world. Then when it's your turn to shoot or make ready, is the range command, then you could unlock it, do your thing, and then just start your runs for the competition with the locking mechanism deactivated. So it's a retention device, but you have to toggle it. But these holsters fit like a glove, and I am a big fan. I've got maybe 4 or 5 GX holsters, basically for all my setups, and I like those a lot. So anyway, that's the belt setup. I think that's went through like most of the setup anyway, and just without try not to get too far in the weeds, trying to keep this as brief as I can. That's just the loadout for Polymer PDP, steel frame PDP, base pads for magazines, my go-to favorite rifle, a better cost-effective one. I think I talked about suppressors. I'm going to shoot suppressed rifle. Surefire RC3 is the one for me. I like the flow-through design. I like the Surefire muzzle devices. And then talking through the belt setup. So hopefully that's helpful. If there's any nuanced questions or follow-up videos you want, drop them below in the comments. Do my best to read through all the comments and make videos just based on what the people want. But hopefully that's helpful in at least giving you a brief summary of why the guns are set up the way they are and what parts in it. So like, share, subscribe if you want. If not, that's fine with me. Either way, though, I appreciate you watching.